Hello, everyone. Hope you're fine, dear lovely IELTS candidates. I'm Ralph, and hope you're having a great day. Today, it's going to be one of the best lessons that I have recorded in the past 2 years. And it's going to be, we're going to delve right into vocabulary and word in IELTS Task 2 writing. And one of the problems that I have seen in the past 20 years that I've been teaching IELTS is that candidates are not able to write different words, and they cannot avoid repeating words. So sometimes they struggle with vocabularies and words, and at the end they come up with writing with an essay which is full of repetitive words. So today we will see how we can tackle this problem, and we can come up with an essay which consists of a wide range of vocabulary. All right, so first of all, let's take a look at sample IELTS Task 2 question, and then I will give you a sample answer which is about 6, and then I will give you some techniques that you can use in order not to repeat the words. All right, this is the question. There is a huge gap between rich people and poor people in the world. This is the most serious problem facing humanity in the 21st century. What is your opinion of this statement? So first, we see that this is an opinion essay, and we should give our own opinion. So let's see how an intermediate IELTS candidate would write the first paragraph, right? So let's take a look at this paragraph. Rich people are getting richer and richer. At the same time, poor people are getting poorer and poorer. The governments in rich countries have got enough money for schools, hospitals, and roads. The governments in poor countries have not got enough money for schools, hospitals, and roads. I strongly believe that this is the most serious problem facing humanity at the moment, and that people in rich countries should help people in poor countries. How many rich countries and poor people have been used in this paragraph? A lot. As you can see, in each sentence, you can see the word rich, the word poor, the word people. So this is a very poor writing, and you will not get more than 6. All right, approximately 6. So we'll see how we can. That is not rocket science, really. So you definitely know these words that I'm going to teach you, but you should have variety. So variety is the king in IELTS, especially in IELTS Task 2. So let's just start from the beginning. Rich people are getting richer and richer. So rich is used 3 times here, so we can omit. So instead of rich people, we can say those who already possess significant wealth. You see, so we can expand the word rich into, let's say, a phrase. And in this case, we can also expand our paragraph by using more words, right? So instead of rich people, we can write those who already possess significant wealth, all right? Or instead of getting rich, we can write becoming. So instead of rich, again, we can write well off, all right? So are becoming increasingly well off, right? So instead of richer and richer, we can write are becoming increasingly well off. At the same time, so there's no need to exclude at the same time, we can use it. Now here, we see poor people are getting poorer and poorer. So instead of poor people, we can write individuals with fewer economic resources. Individuals with fewer economic resources. This means poor people are getting poorer and poorer. So what can we write? We can write may find themselves in dire financial straits. Right? So instead of becoming poorer and poorer, I write this sentence. May find themselves in dire financial straits. Now, another sentence, the sentence after that was that the governments in rich countries have got enough money for schools, hospitals, and roads. So we can use the governments itself, the governments. So instead of in rich countries, can you think of another synonym for rich? Yes, we can write, when talking about an area, talking about a country, we can write a prosperous, right? Okay, so the governments in prosperous and successful areas. So instead of rich countries, we can write prosperous and successful areas. Okay, so the governments in rich countries, so the governments in prosperous and successful areas. After that, we have got enough money for schools, hospitals, and roads. So we can also change this sentence. Have enough funds. Have enough funds. So instead of money, we can use the word fund. So this is the sentence. The governments in prosperous and successful areas have enough funds to build schools, hospitals, and roads. So we can use schools, hospitals, and roads. Then the sentence after this was, the governments in poor countries have not got enough money for schools, hospitals, and roads. So we can see that, again, the government is repeated here, so we should use another word, a synonym word for the governments. And also in poor countries, we should write another synonym for poor countries. Have not got enough money, so we can also change money into another word. We can use synonyms. And also, schools, hospitals, and roads are repeated here, so we should exclude them and omit them and use synonym for that. So let's start this sentence. Instead of the governments, we can write the authorities. Everywhere in your IELTS Task 2 writing, you can use the authorities instead of the government, right? So the authorities, instead of poor countries, what can we write? Can you think of another word, another synonym? So instead of poor countries, we can write in less developed nations. In less developed nations. So the authorities in less developed nations. All right. Instead of have not got, we can write the verb lack. All right. So in our original sentence we have not got enough money for schools, hospitals, and roads. All right. So instead of have not got, we can write lack. Lack. Instead of money, we wrote fund instead of money. Now, another word that we can use instead of money is capital. Lack the capital to invest in health, education, and infrastructure. So, as you can see, instead of hospitals, I wrote health. Instead of schools, I wrote education. And instead of roads, I wrote infrastructure, right? Exactly the synonyms. Then after that was our thesis statement in which we give our opinion. So the original sentence was, I strongly believe that this is the most serious problem facing humanity at the moment, and that people in rich countries should help people in poor countries. So we should omit people in rich countries again, and also people in poor countries. So we should come up with a very nice sentence. So instead of I strongly, so we can write, that's okay. If we write I strongly believe, that's okay. So there's no need to omit this one. I strongly believe that. All right. After that, I strongly believe that this is the most serious problem facing humanity. So we can write something like this. I strongly believe that members of more affluent means rich. So you see how many synonyms I have used instead of rich in this paragraph. So members of more affluent societies ought to provide support for those struggling to survive in other regions of our planet. So instead of poor countries, I have written those struggling to survive in other regions. All right. So as you can see, this is a sample paragraph in which we can come up with a nicer essay and avoid repeating the words. And as I said, variety is the king in IELTS. So you should write an essay and beware not to repeat the words. You can come up with so many synonyms in your essay, and remember not to use informal words, all right? So there are also other techniques that we can use in order to avoid repeating the words. So in our next part, we are going to focus on some techniques that we can use in order to write a well-structured essay and avoid repeating words in our essay writing. So next session, we're going to focus on this part. Stay tuned. Goodbye.